naturliga köpenstaken denna sommar. Han språkräknas inte mans anatlistan tjänstlig. Dingsenturikan sa.
Alicia Freeman could still smell the bank on her coat, lemon cleaner over old carpet, like someone tried to scrub the truth out of the air. She sat in her car across the street. The denial letter folded and unfolded until the paper softened at the creases. Maple Ridge's for sale sign was only 10 minutes away. Her dream was 10 minutes away, and yet the word denied stared back like a verdict. Inside the glass doors, people laughed. A man in a gray suit shook hands with a loan officer. The lobby's soft jazz floated out every time someone entered, as if the music could keep the world calm. Alicia's phone buzzed. Dana, realtor seller wants confirmation by 5 p.m. We good? Alicia's fingers hovered over the screen. Her chest felt tight, like she'd been told to hold her breath and forget how to breathe again. She'd pictured Mark Holloway's polite smile, the way he'd said it like it was weather, not power. Not the house. You. That line cut clean, sharp as glass. Alicia lifted her phone and opened the camera. She framed the denial letter in the viewfinder. Her hands didn't shake now. They were steady in a way that scared her, because steadiness meant decision. One photo became 2, then 3. She tapped share, thumb pausing over the contact she never thought she'd need, Tashin Gwynn, attorney. And beneath it, a second name she hadn't saved yet but knew by reputation. Kayla Price, investigative reporter. Across the street, the bank security guard stepped outside, saw her phone raise, and went still. He didn't wave. He stared straight at her, then lifted a finger to his mouth. Sure. Alicia Freeman sat in the glass-walled office that smelled like lemon polish and cold coffee. The lobby outside played soft jazz, the kind meant to make money feel gentle. Her fingers worried the edge of her folder. Tax returns, pay stubs, business plan, and the realtor email with congrats in the subject line. Across the desk, loan officer Mark Holloway kept his smile clipped and his pen busy. So, Alicia said, you got the updated numbers from my accountant? I did, Mark replied, and I ran everything again. Alicia watched his eyes flick to her name on the application, then to her face, then away. Okay, she said. Then we're good? Because the underwriter already pre-approved. Mark lifted a hand. Pre-approval is an approval. I know that, she said. But my credit is 792. My debt to income is under the threshold. My business has been profitable 3 years straight. What changed? Mark leaned back. The risk profile. Alicia blinked. Risk profile. It's broader than just credit, he said, lowering his voice. Certain neighborhoods fluctuate. My neighborhood? Alicia asked. I'm buying in Maple Ridge. The appraisal came in higher than the asking price. He nodded. Not the house. You. Alicia kept her hands flat on the folder. Explain that. Mark's pen clicked. Entrepreneurial income is considered less stable. My income is documented, she said. And you approved Jason Miller last month. Same type of business. Same years in operation. Mark's eyes narrowed at the name. I can't discuss other clients. You don't have to, Alicia said. Just tell me what I did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong, he said. The bank has to make conservative decisions. Conservative, a word that covered a lot of things. Is this because I'm self-employed, Alicia asked, or because I'm black? Mark's smile thinned. Ms. Freeman, that's an inappropriate accusation. It's a question, she said. I brought everything you asked for. Twice. He spread his hands. I'm just a messenger. Alicia's gaze snagged on the security camera in the corner. Then show me the policy. The exact reason. Mark slid a single sheet across the desk. Denied in block letters, with a paragraph of corporate fog beneath it. Alicia read it once, then again. Insufficient compensating factors, she said. That's not a reason. That's a blanket. It's the determination, Mark replied, already shifting papers. Alicia felt heat creep up her neck. You're telling me the bank that takes my deposits and calls me valued customer is now saying I'm not good enough to buy a home. Mark's eyes flicked to the camera again. I'm saying a loan is denied. Outside the glass, a teller laughed at something a man in a suit said. The laugh was bright, effortless. Alicia stood. I want to appeal. You can submit an appeal, Mark said. It usually takes 90 days. 90 days? She pictured deadlines, earnest money, the seller's impatience. That will kill the deal. I'm sorry, Mark said. Alicia gathered her folder. Who's your manager? My manager is in a meeting, Mark said. Then I'll wait. He exhaled. Ms. Freeman, there's nothing more to discuss. Alicia walked into the lobby with the denial sheet in her hand. She felt eyes slide away from her, as if attention itself might be contagious. At the exit, security guard Calvin Rhodes nodded. He was older, gray at the temples. You okay, ma'am? Alicia hesitated. The paper crinkled. Calvin's gaze dropped to it, then back up, and something tightened in his expression. Recognition. They do you like that? She asked quietly. Calvin's mouth twitched. They do folks like us like that. Alicia swallowed. I need proof. Calvin glanced toward the offices. Careful what you ask for. I'm already careful, she said. It didn't help. Outside, winter air slapped her cheeks awake. Cars hissed on wet pavement. She stared back through the doors at the common side. Her phone buzzed. A text from her realtor. Seller wants confirmation by 5 p.m. Good. Alicia stared until the screen blurred. Then she opened her camera app and took a photo of the denial sheet. The shutter sound was tiny, but it felt like the start of something loud. Alicia didn't send it yet. She held the phone like a lit match. She called her realtor. Dana, it's Alicia. Alicia, tell me you're clear, Dana said. They denied it. Silence. Denied? But you're solid. Did they say why? They said I'm risk, Alicia replied. That's the word. Dana's voice dropped. Okay, another lender. But the seller's agent already asked if you're sure you can close. Alicia stared at the bank logo. Behind the glass, Mark moved on to the next client, as if she'd vanished already. Tell her I'm sure I can pay. I'm not sure they'll let me. Dana hesitated. Do you want to call Mark? No. Put everything in writing. Every email. Every reason. After she hung up, she called Tosh and Gwyn, her best friend. Tash, Alicia said, I think it happened. What happened? The thing we talk about like it's a ghost. Alicia whispered. The polite version. Tasha's breath tightened. Where are you? In front of the bank. Alicia said, holding a denial. Take pictures. Save everything. Tasha said, and don't go back in alone. Alicia glanced at the doors. I already took one. Good. Tasha said, send it to me. Then we make it impossible for them to pretend. The second branch smelled different. No lemon polish. Just stale air and burnt coffee, the kind that sat too long on a warmer. Alicia noticed it immediately, the way her body cataloged details now, like evidence. She sat across from a woman named Denise Walker, whose nails were immaculate and whose voice was softer than Mark Holloway's had been. Softer, but tighter around the edges. I reviewed your file, Denise said, tapping a tablet. You're well prepared. Alicia nodded. Prepared usually helps. It does, Denise agreed. Most of the time. Alicia waited. Denise smiled apologetically. There are concerns. What kind? Alicia asked. Market volatility. Denise said, self-employment variance. Long-term exposure. Alicia leaned forward. Those are categories, not answers. Denise's smile flickered. The underwriting model flagged certain combinations. Which combinations? Alicia pressed. Denise hesitated. I don't have visibility into the algorithm. So the computer decided? Alicia asked. The system informs a decision. Denise said carefully. We follow it. Alicia felt the now familiar pressure behind her eyes. Then why do human loan officers exist? Denise looked down at the tablet. To guide applicants. To where? Alicia asked. Out the door. Denise's lips pressed together. Ms. Freeman, I understand this is frustrating. Do you? Alicia said, because I walked in here with the same paperwork as everyone else, and I keep hearing words that mean nothing. Denise lowered her voice. There's also discretion. Alicia went still. Discretion? Yes, Denise said. Compensating factors can override certain flags. And Alicia asked, and in your case, Denise said, they were deemed insufficient. By who? Alicia asked. The review team. Who's on that team? Alicia asked. Denise closed the tablet. I can't share internal structures. Alicia laughed once, short, humorless. So there's a team I can't see, using criteria I can't access, making decisions that destroy my timeline. Denise's gaze slid to the glass wall. You're welcome to reapply in 6 months. 6 months? Alicia said. The seller won't wait 6 days. Denise stood, signaling the meeting was over. I'm sorry. Outside, Alicia sat in her car and stared at the steering wheel until her hands stopped shaking. She opened her email. 3 new messages. One from Dana. Seller asking if there's an issue with your finances. Another from the seller's agent. We're considering a backup offer. The third from her accountant. Subject line. Everything looks strong. Alicia closed her eyes. Her phone rang. Tasha, they're doing it again, Alicia said the second she answered. Same language. Tasha asked. Worse, Alicia said. More polite. That tracks, Tasha replied. Politeness is insulation. Alicia exhaled. What do I do? Tell me everything. Tasha said. Times, names, exact phrases. Alicia recited them like a deposition. When she finished, there was a pause. They're hiding behind discretion, Tasha said, which means there's paper somewhere. Paper I'll never see, Alicia said. Not never, Tasha corrected. Just not easily. Alicia pulled back onto the road. Dana says the seller's getting nervous. They always do, Tasha said, because the system trains them to doubt you before they doubt the bank. Alicia's throat tightened. I'm tired of proving I exist. I know, Tasha said gently, but if you want to push this, we need patience. Alicia laughed bitterly. Patience costs money. At a red light, Alicia checked her phone. A text from an unknown number. Unknown! Be careful who you talk to. Not everyone wants trouble. Her pulse jumped. She typed back, then erased it. Took a screenshot instead. She forwarded it to Tasha. Alicia, is this intimidation? Tasha, it's pressure. Save it. Alicia drove to the original branch, not inside, just past it. She parked down the street and watched people come and go. A man in a polo shirt shook hands with a loan officer. A young white couple posed for a selfie by the entrance, keys held up like trophies. Her phone buzzed again. Dana, they accepted the backup offer. Dana said quietly, I'm so sorry. Alicia felt the lost land heavy real. Okay, she said. You did nothing wrong. Dana added quickly. Alicia stared at the bank's logo. I know. After the call, Alicia didn't cry. She sat very still. Her email pinged. A forwarded message from Tasha. From Calvin Road subject. Question. Alicia's heart thudded. She opened it. Ms. Freeman, I don't know what I'm allowed to say, but sometimes there are notes. Sometimes reviews don't happen the way they say they do. If you want to talk, not at the bank. Alicia reread it twice. Her phone buzzed. Another new message, this time from an unfamiliar verified account. Caleb Price, I'm an investigative reporter. I've seen cases like yours. If you're willing to share documents, I'm listening. Alicia stared at the screen. 2 doors, both heavy. One legal, one public. She thought of Mark's voice. Not the house. You. She thought of the seller's keys, swinging in someone else's hand. Alicia gathered her screenshots, her denial letters, her emails, her notes. She saved them in a folder and named it simply Paper Wall. Then she hit reply. Mark Holloway didn't look surprised when Alicia walked back into the branch. He looked prepared. Ms. Freeman, he said, standing halfway from his chair, smile already in place. I wasn't expecting you today. Alicia didn't sit. She stayed standing, folder tucked under her arm like a shield. I wasn't expecting to be denied twice with no explanation, but here we are. Mark gestured to the chair. Let's keep this professional. That's what I'm here for, Alicia said. Professional answers. His smile tightened by a millimeter. I've already explained the decision. You explained words, Alicia replied. Not facts. Mark folded his hands. The facts are internal. Funny, Alicia said, because Jason Miller's facts weren't. His eyes flickered, there and gone. I told you I can't discuss other clients. You don't have to, Alicia said. Just explain why discretion worked for him and not for me. Mark leaned back, crossing his arms. You're making assumptions. I'm making comparisons, Alicia said. Banks do it all the time. Mark exhaled slowly, the way people do when they want to appear patient. Ms. Freeman, your tone is becoming adversarial. Alicia laughed softly. My tone changed when my future did. Mark glanced toward the glass wall. A woman in a blazer pretended not to watch. The security camera blinked red. There are consequences to escalating situations like this, Mark said quietly. Consequences? Alicia echoed. Like losing my house? Like misunderstandings becoming permanent, he said. Alicia stepped closer to the desk. Is that a threat? Mark's smile returned, smooth and practiced. Of course not. I'm offering perspective. My perspective, Alicia said, is that you're hiding behind policy because saying the truth would look bad in writing. Mark's jaw flexed. We don't discriminate. I didn't say you did, Alicia replied. I asked why discretion disappears when I walk in. Silence stretched. Then Mark stood. This meeting is over. Not yet, Alicia said. She pulled out her phone and set it face down on the desk. I want a copy of my underwriting notes. The real ones. Mark's eyes hardened. Those are proprietary. So is my income, Alicia said, and you had no problem dissecting that. Mark leaned forward. You're risking your relationship with this bank. Alicia met his gaze. You already ended it. A beat. Mark straightened his jacket. I'll have compliance contact you. When? Alicia asked, within the standard window. Which is, she pressed, 30 to 60 business days, he said. That's not a window, Alicia said. That's a wall. Mark opened the door. Good day, Miss Freeman. In the lobby, Calvin stood near the entrance. He didn't look at her at first. Alicia paused beside him. You emailed me. Calvin nodded once. Didn't know if you'd come back. I needed to see his face when I asked. Alicia said. Calvin's mouth tightened. And he smiled. Alicia said, like he always does. Calvin finally looked at her. That smile means he thinks you'll get tired. Alicia's chest ached. Do people? Yes, Calvin said. Most do. Why? She asked. Because the system counts on exhaustion, he said. Not guilt. Alicia lowered her voice. You said there were notes. Calvin glanced around. I can't access them directly. But, Alicia prompted. But I've seen managers tell officers to document selectively, he said. Certain words get avoided. Which words? Alicia asked. Calvin hesitated. Anything that sounds personal. Alicia nodded slowly. So it stays clean. Clean enough, Calvin said. Dirty in effect. Outside, Alicia sat in her car and pressed her forehead to the steering wheel. Her phone buzzed Tasha. He doubled down. Alicia said, and implied consequences. That's intimidation, Tasha replied, soft but still. He offered compliance, Alicia said, in a window big enough to bury me. Tasha sighed. They do that when they think you won't last. Well, Alicia said, straightening, I'm still here. Good, Tasha said, because I pulled something. Alicia's pulse jumped. What? An internal complaint filed last year, Tasha said. Different branch. Same phrasing. Same outcome. Alicia closed her eyes. They said it was rare. They always do, Tasha said. Pattern hides in plain sight. Alicia checked her email. A new message from Caleb Price. Caleb, if you're willing, I'd like to interview you. On the record, I'll need documents and time. This won't be fast. Alicia typed back, I've already waited long enough. Another message popped up, this one from her bank. Subject, account review notice. Her stomach dropped. They're touching my accounts, Alicia said into the phone. Tasha's voice sharpened. Forward that to me. Do not respond yet. Alicia stared at the notice. They're punishing me. They're hoping you'll retreat, Tasha said. Don't. Alicia looked back at the bank through the windshield. Mark's office light was still on. The smile, she imagined, was still intact. She took a breath. Then another. I'm done asking nicely, Alicia said. That's not anger, Tasha replied. That's clarity. Alicia opened her documents folder, paper wall, and added a new subfolder, retaliation. She hit save. The wall wasn't just paper anymore. It was starting to talk. Calvin chose a diner because it was loud. That's what he said when Alicia asked why they couldn't talk somewhere quieter. Too many ears are safer than none, he'd muttered, sliding into cracked vinyl booth like a man who expected to leave early. The place smelled like grease and burnt toast. A waitress with tired eyes poured coffee without asking. Calvin wrapped his hands around the mug. They shook just a little. I can't be here long, he said. I appreciate you coming at all, Alicia replied. He nodded but didn't look at her. I've got kids, college age. They watch what happens to people who speak up. Alicia softened her voice. I'm not asking you to burn your life down. Calvin finally met her eyes. That's how it starts. Silence sat between them, filled by clattering plates and a radio playing an old R&B song too low to hear clearly. You said there were notes, Alicia said gently. Calvin took a breath. There are internal comments attached to applications. Not all of them show up in disclosures. Why? Alicia asked. Because some things aren't supposed to be said out loud, he replied. Alicia's jaw tightened. Like what? Calvin hesitated. Flags. Soft ones. Unstable income. Lifestyle risk. Stuff that doesn't mean anything on paper but means something in meetings. Whose meetings? Alicia asked. Managers, Calvin said. Compliance only sees what's sanitized. Alicia leaned forward. Was my file flagged? Calvin stared into his coffee. I didn't see your file, but I saw the way Mark logged it. How? Alicia asked. He skipped a step, Calvin said. Secondary review. It's optional, but it's there for borderline cases. And mine, she pressed. Mark complete, Calvin said quietly. Without the review time. Alicia felt something cold slide through her chest. So it was never really considered. Calvin shrugged. It was decided before it was finished. The waitress dropped off plates. Eggs, toast, hash browns. The normalcy felt cruel. Why tell me this? Alicia asked. Calvin swallowed. Because I've watched this happen for years. And because when you walked out with that paper, he shook his head. You didn't look confused. You looked like you understood. Alicia exhaled slowly. I did. Calvin glanced around again. I can't give you documents, but I can explain how they avoid leaving fingerprints. Explain, Alicia said. They coach language, Calvin said. They say never write race, never write neighborhood explicitly. You write market exposure. You write fit. Fit for what? Alicia asked. Calvin's laugh was bitter. Exactly. Alicia pulled out her notebook. Does this coaching happen in writing? Sometimes, Calvin said. Sometimes in meetings. Always off record. Alicia scribbled. Who leads those meetings? Calvin hesitated. Regional managers. Mark's not the top. He's a mouthpiece. Alicia nodded. That helps. Calvin stiffened. Careful. Knowing helps. Proving is dangerous. I already lost a house, Alicia said. What else do they take? Calvin didn't answer. After the diner, Alicia sat in her car and typed notes while everything was still sharp. She recorded Calvin's phrases exactly as he'd said them, quotation marks and all. Her phone buzzed. Her mother. You okay? Her mom asked without preamble. I'm working, Alicia said. That's not what I asked, her mother replied. Alicia leaned her head back. I'm angry. That can be heavy, her mother said. So is silence, Alicia replied. Her mother sighed. I just don't want you hurt. I already am, Alicia said. I'm just choosing where it goes. That night, Alicia couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Mark smile. Not cruel. Worse, reasonable. At 2:14 a.m., she opened her laptop and reread the bank's account review notice. No errors cited. No timeline given. Just routine. Routine was the word they used to make harm feel boring. An email came in from Tasha. Tasha, I filed a formal complaint with the state regulator tonight. Preliminary. We'll need corroboration. Alicia typed back. I met with someone. 3 dots appeared, vanished, then reappeared. Tasha, careful language. Alicia, a witness. Quiet, not paper, but process. Tasha, that matters. It establishes intent. Alicia stared at the screen. Intent, a legal word for something she felt in her bones. Another email followed, this one from Caleb. Caleb, I've spoken to 2 former bank employees. Similar stories. They're afraid but consistent. Alicia's pulse quickened. She typed, they skipped a secondary review on my file. A minute passed. Caleb, that's not nothing. The next morning, Alicia's phone exploded with messages. Her aunt warned her to be careful. A former coworker sent a thumbs up emoji and nothing else. A stranger on LinkedIn asked if she was sure she wanted her name attached to controversy. She turned the phone face down. At noon, her bank account showed a hold on a routine transfer. No explanation, just pending. Alicia called the customer service line. After 27 minutes, a voice said, it's under review. Why? Alicia asked. I don't have that information. The voice replied. Who does? Alicia asked. Someone else. The voice said, already tired. Alicia hung up and laughed. A short, sharp sound that startled her. That evening, she met Tasha in her office. The walls were lined with case files and framed diplomas. They're squeezing you, Tasha said, after reviewing everything. I know, Alicia replied. Tasha leaned forward. This is the part where most people stop. Alicia thought of Calvin's shaking hands, of her mother's fear, of the house keys that would never be hers. Then they picked the wrong person. Alicia said. Tasha studied her. You understand this won't just be about the loan anymore. I do, Alicia said. It's about how quietly they expect me to disappear. Tasha nodded. Then we keep going. Slowly, loudly, correctly. Alicia walked out into the evening with a strange calm settling in her chest. She wasn't winning, but she wasn't invisible either. And for the first time since the denial, that felt like power. Caleb Price didn't rush. That was the first thing Alicia noticed when they met in a quiet corner of a public library. Glass walls, cameras, people moving constantly in the background. Visibility as safety. He set his recorder on the table, but didn't turn it on yet. Before we do anything, Caleb said, I need to be clear about the cost. Alicia folded her hands. To me? To you first, he replied. Then everyone around you. She nodded. Say it anyway. Caleb leaned back. Once this is public, you don't control the narrative. People will question your credit, your character, your tone. The bank will say nothing until it says everything. Alicia smiled faintly. They already question my worth. Caleb studied her. You've done this before. Not like this, Alicia said, but I've learned what silence buys. He clicked the recorder on. State your name. Alicia Freeman. And why you're here? Alicia took a breath. Because a bank denied my loan without cause, then punished me for asking why. Caleb didn't interrupt. He let the pauses sit, the way good listeners do. Alicia walked him through timelines, language, skipped steps, coded words. She showed him screenshots, emails, the denial letter side by side. Caleb's eyebrows lifted when he saw the identical phrasing. They copy-pasted. They call it consistency, Alicia said. They call it insulation, Caleb corrected. He photographed the documents, careful with angles, metadata, intact. I'll verify everything, independently. I expect you to, Alicia said. When they finished, Caleb powered down the recorder. I'll need more voices. I figured, Alicia replied. Can you connect me to Calvin? Caleb asked. Alicia hesitated. Only if you protect him. Caleb met her gaze. I don't burn sources. Sometimes the fire doesn't ask, Alicia said. That night, Alicia posted nothing. She watched instead. A vague thread appeared on a local forum. Anyone else have weird issues with First Commonwealth loans? The comments filled slowly. Stories half told. People afraid to sound dramatic. Alicia didn't comment. She saved screenshots. At 6:12 a.m., her phone buzzed. A bank email. Subject: clarification regarding recent communications. It was bland, apologetic without apology. We value all customers equally. Alicia forwarded to Tasha. Alicia, they're setting the stage. Tasha, good. Stages need lights. By noon, Caleb texted. Caleb, 2 former loan officers confirmed discretionary coaching. One says approval shift by zip code more than credit. Alicia's heart thudded. Can you print that? Caleb, only with corroboration. She typed, I can get it. She called Calvin. I can't, he said immediately. I'm not asking for documents, Alicia replied. Just truth. On background. Calvin was silent long enough that Alicia could hear traffic through the phone. They'll know it's me, he said. They'll suspect everyone, Alicia replied. That's how leaks work. Calvin exhaled. Meet me tomorrow. Same diner. Bring nothing. The bank struck back that afternoon. Her debit card declined at the grocery store. The cashier frowned. It says review. Alicia forced a smile. I'll use another card. She paid, hand steady, then sat in her car and cried for exactly 30 seconds. She wiped her face, then called the bank. After 40 minutes, a representative said, Your account is undergoing routine verification. Triggered by what? Alicia asked. I don't have that information, the rep said. Who does? Alicia asked. Another department. The rep replied. Put them on. Alicia said. I can't. Alicia laughed, a short bark. Of course. That evening, Alicia met her mother for dinner. You look tired, her mother said. I am, Alicia replied. Her mother pushed her food around. You don't have to carry this. Alicia reached across the table. I know, but if I drop it, it rolls back onto someone else. Her mother squeezed her hand. Just promise me you'll come home if it gets ugly. Alicia nodded. I promise I'll come home if I can. The next morning, Calvin slid into the diner booth without greeting. I talked to him, Calvin said. Caleb? Alicia asked. He nodded. On background. No names. No timestamps. That's enough, Alicia said. Calvin stared at his coffee. There's a phrase. Alicia leaned in. What phrase? Profile alignment, Calvin said. They use it when they want to say no without saying why. Alicia wrote it down. Who uses it? Regional, Calvin said. Mark repeats what he's told. Alicia looked up. So the smile isn't the source. Calvin shook his head. It's the delivery system. That afternoon, Caleb called. I have enough, he said. Not to publish, but to warn them. Warn them? Alicia asked. I send questions, Caleb said. They respond. Or they panic. And if they panic? Alicia asked. Things leak, Caleb replied. At 9:47 p.m., Caleb emailed again. Caleb. They responded in 12 minutes. Legal copied. That's fast. Alicia's pulse spiked. What does that mean? Caleb. It means they're scared of daylight. The next morning, Alicia woke to her phone vibrating nonstop. Texts, missed calls, notifications. Someone had posted a partial screenshot, cropped, anonymized, of an internal bank training slide. The phrase profile alignment circled in red. It wasn't Caleb, but it wasn't a coincidence either. Alicia sat up, heart racing. The leak had begun. And leaks, she knew, didn't stop at one drop. The bank never raised its voice. It didn't have to. Alicia learned that the morning her payroll transfer stalled. Not declined, not reversed, just paused. The status sat there like a dare. Pending. She called customer service. 46 minutes. The music looped, bright and false. Routine review, the representative said at last. I run payroll today. Alicia replied, That's not routine. I understand your concern, the woman said, tone practiced. But reviews are automated. Triggered by what? Alicia asked. I don't have access to that, the woman replied. Alicia closed her eyes. Then escalate. I can submit a ticket, the woman said. How long? Alicia asked. 72 business hours. That's 3 days, Alicia said. My employees need to eat. Silence. Then, I'm sorry. Alicia hung up and stared at her phone like it had betrayed her personally. Mark Holloway called an hour later. She let it ring. Then again. On the third call, she answered. What do you want? Alicia, Mark said warmly, as if they were old colleagues. I heard you've been having some account issues. She laughed once. Funny how that timing works. I want to help, he said, but it's hard when things escalate unnecessarily. Unnecessarily, Alicia repeated. Mark lowered his voice. You've been talking to people. I'm allowed to, she said. Of course, Mark replied, but misunderstandings can snowball. Alicia pictured his smile. This isn't a misunderstanding. It could still be resolved quietly, Mark said. Fresh application. New officer. Clean slate. And what do I give up? Alicia asked. Mark paused. You stop framing this as something it isn't. Alicia's hand tightened around the phone. You mean discrimination? I mean drama, Mark said lightly. Then stop creating it. Alicia snapped. Mark sighed, disappointed. I hope you reconsider. Institutions remember patterns. So do people, Alicia said and hung up. Her phone buzzed immediately. Tasha. They called you, Tasha said. Yes, Alicia replied. They always do once the press asks questions, Tasha said. I want you to forward every delay, every hold, every call. I'm doing that, Alicia said, but they're hurting my business. I know, Tasha said. That's a leverage. That night, Alicia sat at her kitchen table surrounded by printouts, bank notices, email chains, screenshots. She labeled them meticulously. Delay, hold, ambiguous language. At midnight, her mother called. I heard from your aunt, her mother said carefully. She says people online are talking. Alicia swallowed. They are. Some of it isn't kind, her mother said. I know, Alicia replied. Her mother hesitated. You don't have to answer everyone. I'm not, Alicia said. I'm answering the truth. Her mother sighed. When I was your age, we didn't do this. Alicia softened. You survived by staying quiet. Yes, her mother said. And sometimes that still feels safer. Alicia closed her eyes. I don't think quiet protects us anymore. I think it just delays the hit. The next morning, her debit card declined again, this time at a gas station. The attendant shrugged. System. Alicia paid cash and sat in her car shaking, not from fear, but from rage so sharp it made her teeth ache. She drove straight to Tasha's office. They're starving me out, Alicia said, pacing. They're testing your threshold, Tasha replied, seeing what breaks first. Well, it won't be me, Alicia said. Tasha held up a hand. Listen, retaliation strengthens your case, but only if we document it cleanly. I'm tired of being a case, Alicia said. I know, Tasha said gently, but you're also becoming evidence. Alicia stopped pacing. That afternoon, Caleb called. They're calling this a customer service issue, he said, but the timeline's ugly. They're doing it on purpose, Alicia said. Yes, Caleb replied, and that's the story. Alicia sat down hard. So I just take it? No, Caleb said. You endure it long enough to expose it. Alicia laughed bitterly. You say that like it's easy. I say it like it's necessary, Caleb replied. And I won't publish until I can show cause and effect. After the call, Alicia opened her email. A new message from the bank. Subject. Invitation to rebuild trust. She stared at it, then forwarded it to Tasha and Caleb. Alicia, this is coercion. Tasha, yes, and they put it in writing. That evening, Alicia sat on her couch, lights off. Her phone glowed with notifications, support, skepticism, thinly veiled threats. One message stood out. Unknown, you're making it harder for the rest of us. Alicia typed, erased, then finally replied. So, did they? She powered the phone down. In the dark, the fear crept in, not loud but persistent. What if she lost everything? What if the system didn't crack? She thought of Calvin's shaking hands, of her mother's caution, of Mark's smile. Then she thought of the word profile alignment. How many lives it had quietly bent? Alicia turned the lights back on. She opened her laptop and drafted a memo titled Retaliation Timeline. Date, action, impact. Line by line, she filled it in. They wanted her tired. They were going to get her precise. Caleb's office smelled faintly of coffee and old paper. Alicia noticed it immediately, the way it grounded her. He spread documents across his desk. Bank filings, training manuals, anonymous tips. Each page carried the quiet weight of unspoken truths. These are from multiple branches, Caleb said, all with similar language. Profile alignment, risk factors, compensating factors. Alicia leaned over the desk, scanning spreadsheets, rows and columns, percentages, approval rates. They were just numbers, but together they formed a pattern. Systematic, precise, cruel. See this? Caleb pointed to a highlighted line. Branches with predominantly white applicants approve at nearly double the rate of similar applicants in minority neighborhoods. Alicia exhaled sharply. They hide it in policy, but the numbers don't lie. Caleb nodded. Exactly. And now we can prove that discretion isn't applied equally. That's intentional, whether they admit it or not. Alicia tapped her pen against the desk. So what's next? We corroborate, Caleb said. We need someone inside who can confirm the process isn't random, that flag files get different treatment based on factors beyond credit or income. Her phone buzzed. Tasha. Alicia glanced down. Tasha. I spoke with a former underwriter. She saw discretionary notes for select clients. Others never got the review. She's willing to confirm if anonymous. Alicia's pulse quickened. That's the verification we need. Exactly, Caleb said. Once we have that, it's a pattern of discrimination. Alicia nodded. She thought of the weeks of frustration, the calls, the holds, the subtle intimidation. Every delay, every cryptic email, it all added up now. Every indignity was a data point, a piece of proof. Caleb paused, looking up from the spreadsheets. Your timeline is critical. Regulators look for cause and effect. Dates, events, evidence. You have that. I do, Alicia said. I've tracked everything. Good, because we'll need it organized, airtight. You can't leave gaps. She leaned back, running a hand through her hair. This is exhausting. I feel like I've been living inside a spreadsheet for months. That's the system, Caleb said quietly. It exhausts you. It tries to make you quit before anyone notices. Alicia's gaze dropped to her hands. I won't quit. Caleb smiled faintly. Good, because once this goes public, the bank won't be able to ignore it. Not Mark, not the managers, not anyone hiding behind policy language. Her phone buzzed again. This time, an email from Calvin. Ms. Freeman, I have more. Some internal emails referencing discretionary approvals. I can share them in person. Tonight, diner. Usual. Alicia felt a rush of adrenaline. She had feared this step, the witness, the confirmation, but now it seemed like the next logical move. Caleb, she said, what if they retaliate further? The account freezes, the calls, the holds. They've already tried to intimidate me. Then we document it. Caleb said firmly, every incident strengthens your case. They can't erase it once it's in a formal record. Her thoughts drifted to her employees, her family, her life on hold, the frustration, the embarrassment, the anxiety. It had all been weaponized against her. But now, the weapon was turning against them. I want them accountable, Alicia said. Her voice was steady, though her chest still ached from months of tension. Not revenge, just accountability. Caleb leaned forward. That's what this is. Cause and effect. Proof. Transparency. When institutions hide behind vague language, the numbers expose them. She nodded. And the public will see it? Yes, Caleb said, but carefully. We build a case, show the pattern, support it with testimony. Then the exposure hits where it hurts. Credibility, regulatory compliance, reputation. Alicia's phone buzzed again, Tasha, reminding her of deadlines, filings, witness statements. Alicia felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. This wasn't just about a loan anymore. It was about fairness, visibility, and justice. Later that evening, Alicia met Calvin at the diner. The lights were dim, the smell of burnt coffee familiar. He slid an envelope across the table. Internal emails, he said quietly. No names, no dates we can't verify. Alicia opened it. The documents showed clear patterns. Discretionary notes applied selectively. Approvals fast-tracked for some, stall for others. This is it, she whispered. Calvin shrugged. I'm just a witness. The story is bigger than me. Alicia folded the papers carefully. It's bigger than any of us, but it needs telling. Back at home, Alicia organized the materials. Bank documents, emails, screenshots, witness notes, internal communications. Each file labeled date, event, effect. By midnight, her living room looked like a war room. She sat back and stared at the folders. Exhaustion pressed against her, but underneath it was a flicker of control. The bank system had tried to break her, silence her, erase her existence in the narrative. But now she held evidence. Now she held the story. Caleb emailed again. Caleb, we're ready for the next step. Publish window open. Regulators notified. Pattern undeniable. Alicia stared at the screen. The word pattern rang in her ears. For the first time in months, she allowed herself a small smile. The house, the accounts, the insults, they were still paying. But the story was turning. The system that had tried to crush her would now face scrutiny in every column, every line, every percentage. And Alicia Freeman, quietly, persistently, deliberately, was at the center of it. The numbers didn't lie. And soon the world would see. The first headline hit Alicia's phone at 6:17 a.m. Black homebuyer denied loan. Internal notes reveal pattern of discretionary bias. She blinked, staring at the screen, fingers trembling. Her phone buzzed again and again. Alerts, retweets, notifications, emails, texts. It was everywhere. The story had spread overnight. Caleb had done exactly what he promised. Screenshots of her denial letters, the internal emails, and excerpts of Calvin's testimony were circulating online. Every post framed with care, factual, verifiable, undeniable. No names beyond Alicia's, no exaggerations, just a timeline in the documents. The first wave of responses was almost surreal. Some messages were supportive. Friends, strangers, and even people she didn't know personally, all expressing outrage or solidarity. Others were dismissive. Maybe she just wasn't qualified. Bankers' procedures. The usual coded defenses. And then there were the ugly ones. The ones that reminded her just how far-reaching bias could be. Anonymous threats, dog whistles, veiled accusations about her character and credibility. Alicia's chest tightened. She had expected some blowback, but the sheer volume, the speed, it was staggering. Tasha called within minutes. It's live. I just saw the post. Regulators are already reacting. The bank's PR is spinning. Alicia sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the laptop. Spinning how? They're issuing statements about equal opportunity and reviewing internal procedures. Typical damage control, Tasha said. But it's too late. The pattern is documented. They can't hide it. Alicia exhaled, the tension in her shoulders loosening just slightly. For months she had been collecting, documenting, cataloging. Every hold, every vague phrase, every delayed transfer, it was all here, visible, public, immutable. By mid-morning, news outlets had picked up the story. Local reporters, then regional, then national. Experts on housing and finance weighed in, comparing her case to broader trends in discriminatory lending practices. Alicia scrolled through comments. Some people were incredulous that this had happened in 2026. Others shared their own experiences, being denied loans, being dismissed, being too risky for reasons they never fully understood. Caleb called again. They're panicking. Executives are scrambling. Internal emails are circulating fast. They realize that even their carefully sanitized records can be connected. Alicia felt a strange satisfaction. It wasn't triumph. It wasn't revenge. It was visibility, recognition. The bank's carefully maintained walls were cracking. Her phone rang. It was Mark Holloway. She stared at the screen for a long moment, then let it go to voicemail. She didn't want to hear the smooth, practiced apology, the attempts at charm. Not now, not when the world was listening. By afternoon, regulators had contacted Caleb for a formal statement. He forwarded her the emails. She read them, word by word, marveling at how quickly the tide had shifted. What had felt impossible weeks ago, visibility, accountability, was now undeniable. But there was still fallout. Her accounts were under review for nearly 2 days, causing delays in payroll and personal bills. Online trolls and critics attacked her credibility. The pressure was relentless. The emotional cost of stepping into the spotlight was real. She sat with Tasha in her office that evening. I didn't expect it to spread this fast, Alicia said. I thought it would be slow, frustrating, drawn out. Fast isn't always easy, Tasha replied. You're in the public eye now. That comes with stress, scrutiny, even danger. But it's also how change happens. Alicia nodded. I knew the risk, but it's heavier than I imagined. We knew, Tasha said. That's why documentation is key. Facts, evidence, patterns. You've done this right. The next morning, Alicia's phone exploded with news alerts. The bank had issued a statement acknowledging procedural inconsistencies, promising reviews and enhanced oversight. Executives were reportedly reassigned, internal audits underway. Alicia felt a mix of vindication and exhaustion. Poetic justice was happening, not in private revenge, but in accountability. Mark Holloway's role was scrutinized, his discretion questioned. The bank could no longer hide behind soft words and smiles. Yet, even in this moment of visibility, Alicia felt the emotional cost. Sleep was fractured. Trust in institutions was fractured. Every minor decision, every routine transaction now carried the weight of potential retaliation. She called Calvin. It's public, she said softly. I hope you're okay with that. I am, he replied. You handled this carefully, but be careful with your heart. The exposure it can wear on you. Alicia nodded, staring out her apartment window. The city hummed below, indifferent, alive, moving on. And yet, for a moment, she felt the weight of every injustice she'd endured lifted, replaced with the strange, exhausting light of recognition. Caleb emailed again. Subject, next steps. Regulators are engaged. Bank is reacting. Internal audits are underway. Public narrative controlled. Your documentation is now evidence, not just testimony. Alicia exhaled. Her body had held tension for weeks, months. Now it loosened just slightly. The system that had tried to suppress her voice had been forced to confront it. She thought of her employees, her mother, Calvin, Tasha, Caleb. She thought of every microaggression, every denial, every delay. Every moment had led to this. And yet, she knew the work wasn't over. Justice was ongoing. The bank might comply on paper, but the change she wanted, real, structural, undeniable, would take time. She closed her laptop, letting herself breathe. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to imagine a future not defined by denial, not defined by fear. The numbers didn't lie. The story didn't lie. And for once, neither did the system. Alicia Freeman smiled quietly, not because the fight was over, not because the wounds had healed, but because the world could see her. And that visibility, the acknowledgement, the reckoning, was its own kind of victory. Alicia sat in the small conference room at Tasha's office, a folder open in front of her filled with printouts, emails, and screenshots. Sunlight slanted through the blinds, dust motes floating lazily in the light. She hadn't slept well in days, weeks really, but the exhaustion was a quiet companion now, steady and familiar. Across from her, Tasha reviewed the documents, her expression tight but approving. Regulators are moving faster than I expected. Your documentation, your timeline, Calvin statements, it's airtight. Alicia exhaled slowly. So, they can't just erase me anymore? Tasha shook her head. No, they can delay. They can stall. But they can't pretend you never existed. The system has to acknowledge your experience now. That's huge. Caleb's voice came through the phone speaker, clipped and professional. The story has traction nationally. Internal reviews are underway. Executives implicated are being reassigned. The bank issued compliance directives for all branches. Your documents and testimony forced their hand. Alicia glanced down at the folder again. Each paper, each line, each highlighted word. It had cost her something to collect, something to live through. Threats, delayed payments, sleepless nights, and the constant fear of retaliation. But now, that same evidence had become power. Her phone buzzed again, a text from Dana. Dana, congratulations. You're officially cleared with a lender willing to work fairly. Closing scheduled next week. Alicia's chest tightened. Relief mixed with residual ache. The bitter reminder of how close she'd been to losing it all. Finally, she whispered. Her mother's voice called over the line. I saw the headlines. I'm proud of you, but I'm scared too. I know, Alicia said. I'm scared too, but I'm also recognized, and that's important. She hung up and stared at her laptop. Every post, every news article, every expert commentary had framed her story as a case study in discrimination, an institution's missteps exposed. It was satisfying, yes, but she knew satisfaction didn't erase trauma. Caleb's follow-up email confirmed what she already suspected. Regulators were opening a formal investigation into the bank's lending practices. Compliance departments were reviewing discretionary approval policies, and employees implicated could face sanctions. Alicia leaned back in her chair. Poetic justice, yes, but nothing about this was simple. Her phone rang again. Mark Holloway. She let go to voicemail. The recording of his smooth apology played, but it sounded hollow now, even ridiculous. His professional mask, his carefully curated smile, no longer had power over her. Not when the world had watched. Tasha closed the folder. Mark will answer for his actions. But remember, the change here isn't only about him. It's about the system. It's about those patterns, the people they affect, and the rules they hide behind. You force them to see the consequences. Alicia nodded, feeling the weight of that truth. She had changed the system. But in doing so, the cost had been personal. She'd faced fear, humiliation, and the strain of public scrutiny. She'd become a symbol, whether she wanted it or not, and that symbol carried its own burdens. She looked out the window. The city moved on, indifferent. People walked past, unaware. But for Alicia, everything had shifted. Visibility, acknowledgement, accountability. These weren't abstract concepts anymore. They were tangible, earned, and visible. Her phone buzzed again. Calvin. I read the coverage, he said quietly. You did this. You made them confront it. It wasn't just me, Alicia replied. It was you, Tasha, Caleb, and everyone who refused to stay silent. Still, Calvin said, it's your name on the story, yours in lights, for better or worse. Alicia laughed softly, a sound tinge of fatigue and something sharper. Resolve. I know, and that's fine. I'd rather be seen than erased. Later, she sat at the closing table for a new home. The papers were finalized, the keys handed over. It should have been a triumphant moment. But Alicia felt a residual ache. The memory of delay, denial, and intimidation still lingered. She held the keys tightly, knowing she had earned them through persistence and courage, not just luck or circumstance. Caleb called with a final note before his article went fully public. Regulators confirmed they're taking action. Your story is a case study now. Others will follow because you refuse to let this be invisible. Alicia smiled faintly. It's not about fame, she said. It's about forcing acknowledgement. And you did, Caleb said, that evening. Alicia sat in her new living room, the sunlight fading through the blinds. The house smelled faintly of fresh paint and possibility. She thought of Mark Holloway of the bank, of the patterns he represented, and the long hours, Sleepless nights, and emotional cost she'd endured to expose it. She thought of her employees, her mother, Calvin, Tasha, and Caleb. Each had played a role in ensuring her voice was heard. And she thought of herself, the fear, the frustration, the quiet determination that had fueled every action. Justice had been served, not in dramatic revenge, but in accountability, transparency, and structural acknowledgement. The bank would face consequences. Procedures would change, and future applicants might be spared the indignity she endured. But Alicia knew the cost of being seen would stay with her. She'd be more cautious, more wary, and infinitely more aware of the invisible forces that shape people's lives. She placed a folder of evidence on a shelf, letting the weight of the work rest. The numbers didn't lie. The pattern didn't lie. And the institution could no longer pretend otherwise. Alicia Freeman closed her eyes and let herself breathe. Finally, the fight was far from over, but she had changed the story. She had forced visibility, forced accountability, and claimed her place not just in a home, but in a system that had tried to erase her. And though the scars remained, the victory, measured, earned, undeniable, was hers. For the first time in months, she felt what it truly meant to be seen. The morning light spilled across the living room floor of Alicia's new home. Dust motes glinted in the sunlight, like tiny sparks, as if the universe itself was acknowledging her presence. She stood at the window, looking out at the street, a street she had once only dared to imagine as hers. Her phone lay on the counter, silent for the first time in days. Notifications had slowed to a trickle, but the memory of viral headlines, threads, and messages remained, hovering in the background like a low hum she couldn't quite switch off. Alicia ran her fingers along the edge of her kitchen counter, inhaling the faint scent of fresh paint and furniture polish. The house was hers, finally, but the journey here had cost her more than she had anticipated. Sleepless nights, relentless anxiety, public scrutiny, the constant hum of fear and anger, all of it had been a price she paid in full to be heard. Her mind drifted back to Mark Holloway, to the polite, infuriating smile that had tried to hide bias as procedure. He was still employed, still moving through the institution's bureaucracy, though his discretion had been scrutinized, and internal reviews had left a record he couldn't erase. It wasn't vengeance, Alicia reminded herself. It was accountability, and that distinction mattered. Caleb's investigative piece had published weeks ago. It landed not as a sensational story, but as a meticulous expose. Every fact, every email, every flagged line in the bank's internal documents was cross-referenced. The public outcry had been immediate and widespread. Regulators opened formal inquiries. Executives faced internal disciplinary action, and the bank's reputation, carefully curated over decades, trembled under scrutiny. Alicia felt a swell of something she hadn't expected, a quiet pride, not in herself alone, but in the truth she had forced the world to confront. The phone buzzed, a message from Calvin. Coffee? Talk about next steps. She smiled faintly. Yes, later, at the diner where so much had been whispered and recorded, Calvin slid into the booth across from her. The place smelled of burnt toast and old coffee grounds. Familiar, grounding. You did it, Calvin said simply. Alicia shook her head. We did it. You, Tasha, Caleb, everyone who refused to let it slide. I just had to show up. He smirked. Showing up is always half the battle. But you, he paused, you endured it. That's more than most could manage. Alicia pressed her fingers together, feeling the ache in her chest. Endure doesn't make it easier. It doesn't erase the nights I couldn't sleep, the hold on my accounts, the judgmental looks when I tried to explain anything. But it does make it visible. Calvin nodded. Visibility is power, and now they can't ignore it. Alicia thought about the emails, the phone calls, the texts, some supportive, some cruel, all proof of one thing. The world had noticed. It was exhausting to be seen this way, but it had consequences for those who had tried to hide behind policies and smiles. Back home, she set the folder labeled paper wall on the top shelf. Each document had been meticulously cataloged. Dates, effects, internal notes, patterns of discrimination. It had been her armor, her weapon, her witness. She picked up her keys from the counter, weighing them in her hand. The home wasn't just a symbol of what she had fought for. It was a reminder of everything she had lost in the process. Friends who had been cautious, family members who had worried, strangers who had judged before knowing the truth. None of it erased, but none of it could take the victory away. Alicia stepped outside, locking the door behind her. The neighborhood was quiet, tree-lined, peaceful. Maple Ridge was still the same street she had once approached with apprehension, but now it felt hers in a way that went beyond legal ownership. It was her claim to dignity, to perseverance, to resistance. Her phone buzzed again. Tasha, regulators confirmed the bank will implement oversight changes within 90 days. Your story helped set the precedent. Alicia smiled faintly. Good. That's enough for today. The next few hours passed in a blur of unpacking boxes and arranging furniture. She paused, hand hovering over a framed photo of her mother. Then another of her employees at the office. Both reminded her that the fight had never been hers alone. It was about community, accountability, and the small acts of courage that ripple outward. By evening, Alicia sat in the living room, windows open, the city quiet around her. She let herself breathe, finally, not fully healed, not fully free of the emotional cost, but steady. She had changed her world, exposed injustice, and reclaimed her voice. And while scars remained, they were no longer marks of defeat. They were proof of survival. A knock at the door pulled her from reflection. It was Calvin, carrying 2 coffees. For the witness and the woman who refused to stay quiet, he said with a grin. Alicia laughed, taking one of the cups. We've both earned these. They stood on the porch for a moment, watching the sun dip behind the houses. Shadows stretched across the lawn, long and calm, like the residue of struggle fading into peace. You think it's over? Calvin asked. Alicia shook her head slowly. No, change is never over, but it's begun, and that's enough for now. They sipped coffee in silence, letting the quiet stretch between them. The fight had been exhausting, painful, relentless, but had been necessary. And now, for the first time in months, Alicia felt something lighter, a fragile sense of closure, tempered by the knowledge that truth had power, and that she had wielded it. She looked down at her hands, holding the keys to her home, the evidence folder on the shelf, and her phone silent for the first time. Alicia Freeman had been denied. She had been tested, threatened, and scrutinized, but she had endured, and in enduring, she had forced visibility, demanded accountability, and claimed her place in a system that had tried to erase her. And though the scars of the battle would never fully fade, the light of being truly seen, finally, unmistakably, was hers. For the first time, she let herself believe in tomorrow,